All righty, guys, what is going on? And welcome back to I Coach Nutrition Radio. Excited to have a guest on the podcast. I actually haven't had a guest on the podcast in a while. I've been doing more solo episodes, I guess, and then episodes with clients there as well. But I'm excited to bring a fellow coach onto the podcast to kind of be able to talk about nutrition and fitness and living a healthy lifestyle, but especially for kind of the crowd over 50. The majority of the clients that I actually work with is kind of in that 40 to 60 range here, but Ms. Pam is going to kind of dive into things. I can act like I know about it, but she's like living the life here, right? So I'm excited to bring her on and have her share some of her story and some of her experience working with clients. So without further ado, Pam, what's going on? How are you?
Super excited to talk to you.
Nice. I love it. We were just talking about, so Pam's up in Sacramento, California. And then she was up in Ohio before that there. So Alex, my wife, all of her family was in Ohio, and small little connection there. But tell me a little bit more about like what you are doing currently now in Sacramento, California. What do you do with your coaching practice? Who do you primarily work with? And how did you even get into this crazy world of the nutrition and fitness industry here?
Oh, Justin, it's a long story. I'll make it short. I grew up with two brothers and a dad who ran before it was cool to run. So as a young kid, I'm like, hey, can I go for a run with you at 11? And ran 2 miles and thought it was the best thing in the whole world. So running was my go-to. And I was very mediocre, not very good, but I loved how it made me feel. So kept it up through high school and college. And then after college, when I moved out to California, my roommate was a group exercise instructor. And I would always take her classes. And she was like, hey, you love to work out. Why don't you take this course at a local junior college on how to be an instructor? Yes, I would love to do that. So I did that. And it was amazing because I don't know how people teach without that. It taught you how to warm a class up properly, how to cue with music. There's an ebb and a flow of a class. That is the right way to teach a class and a wrong way. And that was wonderful. And then I thought, hey, I'm probably going to be training ladies that take my class. So I should probably get my personal training certification as well. Took that 3 months later. And that was 24 years ago because I was pregnant with my son when I got certified in both of those. Now, I knew I did not want to work full time when I had kids. And I thought teaching classes and training would be the best route. So I could still be a mom, still, cook and drive them to soccer practice and do all that stuff, but still do what I love to do, which is motivate women to move more, to do more than they think they can. Because I was born with motivation dripping out of my pores. I could motivate people all day long. I just want to share that with people because I see so many women taking care of everybody else in their lives and not themselves. So I've been teaching I was teaching for 20 years. I stopped about 4 years ago. Currently, I do group coaching through a private Facebook group called the Perfect Balance Tribe. And I do one-on-one coaching, which is mostly food coaching because shockingly, Justin, most women want to lose weight. That's never about the exercise. It's all about the food. And I do have a YouTube channel with tons of videos with lots of 5-minute, 10-minute, 20-minute workout videos because I think the fitness industry has done everybody a disservice because every class I taught was an hour. And women still think they have to work out for an hour to get a great workout. I'm like, no. You work out with me for 20 minutes, we will not stop. That is better than no minutes. So that was a very, very long answer to your question.
Yeah, no, I love that though. I mean, I think like I said, the majority of women I work with, or the majority of clients I work with are women that are kind of in that 40 to 60 range. And you're right. I mean, I saw this growing up my whole life with my mom. I see this with my wife, right? I see this with all the women that I work with. And that's that, ultimately you get to this place. Maybe it happens when you get married or when you have kids or whatever it may be there, but you prioritize yourself less and less and less and less. I was literally just talking to a client right before this that we were just talking about that. And she was telling me how like we had been working together now for about 6 months and we were kind of transitioning her off of like using some of these tracking tools and whatnot. And she's like, to be honest, like I want to keep using those because I feel like when I use those, it makes me prioritize me more. And I'm like, that's perfectly fine. It's an awareness thing, right? When you're tracking, you're automatically more aware of these different habits that you want to be working on and helping to improve your life with. So, but I think it's such an interesting conversation. I mean, why is it that so many women, right, get to this place where they don't feel like they have the time to prioritize themselves. And this happens with men too, right? But I feel like with women, especially as you start to have kids, like if you haven't figured it out, if you haven't figured out how to prioritize yourself before having kids, like it's only going to exacerbate it once you do, right?
Exactly. And women do because they think it's selfish and not self-care. I tell them, you got to think about it like the oxygen mask on an airplane, where you got to take care of yourself first, because you will take care of everybody else in your life better if you take the time for yourself. And that doesn't mean hours a day. It could mean getting up a half an hour early, busting out a 20-minute workout, and then being like, "Whew, okay, now I can go." But too many women think, I don't have time. It's, I shouldn't do this. I need to do this, this, this. I mean, we all have 800 things to do a day, and they think, I'll do it later. And nobody ever does it later. I mean, let's be real.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I have a hard rule with myself where if it doesn't happen first thing in the morning, it's probably not going to happen. Right. So, yeah, I know better than to lie to myself to tell me that I'm going to work out at the end of the day or whatever. I mean, maybe if you use the last little bit of your motivation tank there, but it's more than not, more than likely probably not going to happen there. So, but I love what you said there, in terms of it's not selfish, right? When you think to yourself, especially if you have kids, because now you have these kids that are sitting here watching how you live your life. Ultimately, it's that you be selfish, if you want to call it selfish, so that you can be selfless, right? Like
Yep.
that mindset shift right there is everything. And I mean, even I have a newborn here right now, right? So even with this, I mean, obviously my wife's going through postpartum, and she's got times here that she has to kind of slowly get back into it. But if you have this period of 6 weeks, 8 weeks or longer where you're not working out, everything's about the baby, and then you get to this place where you kind of just like it gets out of your routine, right? Maybe it was something that was consistently in it, and then now it's not. So you got to figure out a way to build it back in there. So I guess my question would be is, what about the people though that didn't grow up like us? What about the people that didn't have the experience of wanting to be active and enjoying working out and not being a part of their family or their environment around them? Because there's plenty of people that I work with, like they don't like working out, like they don't want to work out, right? And so
Yep.
it's a matter of, maybe it's a matter of finding the time, and for other people it's like a matter of like finding something they actually enjoy, something that's actually like motivating to them, right?
Yeah. I always say two things. First of all, everybody liked to do something when they were a little kid. They could like to jump rope, bike, skateboard. We should maybe not do that when we get older, we might break something, but we were all as kids. And whatever you love to do that. And then you got to man up or woman up, strength train, because we are all losing muscle as we get older and we have to protect our bones. So it's a matter of, we didn't like to brush our teeth when we were a little kid. Sorry, still got to do it. You might not like strength training, but let's talk about, I'm 54. Let's talk about when I'm 84. My bones are going to be rock solid because I'm strength training. If I fall, I'm not going to break anything because my muscles are going to protect my bones. So you have to do this. It's an investment. Like we all have retirement accounts. This is a retirement account for later on for your body. So you have to do it. As well as, I had a client who moved from California to Washington, and she's like, Pam, what can I do for cardio in the winter? I'm like, do you like to jump rope? She goes, I was on the jump rope team in high school. And her face lit up. I'm like, clearly that's what you should be doing, is something that you love. And with YouTube now, you can do Zumba, you can do belly dancing. I mean, you can find anything. Billy Blank's Taibo, old school working out. You can do anything, and you have to strength train. So that's my answer.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think that's a huge piece to bring up, because that's I mean, what's the norm? I mean, I still hear it to this day, right? Oh, I don't want to string train, it's going to make me bulky, right? I don't want to I don't want to be a bodybuilder, right? I don't want to lift heavy. I don't want to get strong because I'm going to look like that. And I'm like,
And
this
you're like,
is
it's not that
one of the
easy.
lies, right? This is one of the lies that you've been fed, your whole entire life here. And so let's talk about that, right? Why is strength training important? And it doesn't have to be, I love what you said, it doesn't have to be the only thing you do, for the listeners here, but it absolutely should be something that you're doing 2 days a week, 3 days a week, something like that, for sure. Because regardless of the aesthetic benefits of it and wanting to look more toned and these types of things, right? We're talking health and longevity and being able to get off the toilet by yourself when you're 90 years old and not fall and break a hip and these types of things. So why is it that strength training is important? And why do you also think that we're in this, um, era, if you will, of like high intensity exercise and everybody doing Orange Theory, CrossFit, spin, that all that type of stuff?
Well, for the strength part, for the women listening, please know it is never that easy to build muscle, and it will do the exact opposite. It actually makes you smaller. I'm smaller now than I ever have been in my whole life, and most of my workouts are strength based. So that lie will not die. That myth, I mean, oh my gosh, stop it. I think those type of workouts are so popular because people are under the assumption that exercise is going to help them lose weight. Everybody wants to lose weight, and it's not. It makes you really hungry. Those high intensity things make you hungry. And I'm all about, you want to lose weight? Let's do shorter. Let's do strength training, which does not make you hungry. I mean, crazy long strength training, yes, but a 20 to 30-minute session, it's going to tone you up and you will not be hungry. So you're not going to be starving your whole day. Plus your metabolism is going to be higher. So you will actually lose weight as long as you're in a deficit. So what I have seen from all my years of teaching is people love those high intensity because they think it'll lead them to their dreamland of the perfect number on the scale. And it never does, because they're going to the coffee shop afterwards going, I need to reward myself because I just burned my Apple Watch that I burned 500 calories. And you're thinking, no, don't do that.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, those are great points. I think I hear this sometimes too, where it's like, there's like this place where people feel like if they're not like sweating like tons, and if their heart rate doesn't get like through the roof, then like they didn't work out hard. Right. And most of the strength workouts, right? I mean, sure, maybe sometimes I'm sweating or get my heart rate up or whatever, but like that's definitely not the goal, right? I mean, the goal is to build muscle. The goal is to get stronger there. And I think like a lot of people maybe will do a strength workout and they'll feel like maybe they didn't really do as much because they're comparing it to some of these other things that are out there. So again, nothing wrong with Orange Theory or CrossFit or any of these other things. I think it's just, how do I figure out a way to be able to prioritize strength training and looking at all of the various benefits that it can bring me, and not letting the myth or the fear of getting big or bulky or whatever. And to be honest, like if you do have that fear, then awesome. Like let's like do the strength training here, do a 10-week program, and then come back to me and let me see if you're bulky now, right? Because it's not going to happen, right? So I always tell clients, I'm like, look, nutrition, if you think you're going to get bulky doing strength training, or if that's happened to you before, or you've seen it happen to somebody else, the reason why that happened is because they ate in a calorie surplus, right? They probably weren't tracking their food intake. They weren't tracking their calorie intake. And so, yeah, you start strength training, you start getting hungrier. You're sitting here eating more than what you were before. And then all of a sudden now you're like, you're putting on weight, you're building muscle, whatever there. And then maybe that's what's making you feel that way. But that 9 times out of 10, if you're tracking your calories and you have the awareness around that, that's not going to be the thing that happens. In fact, it's going to be the opposite. You're going to get smaller, you're going to get more toned, you're going to get more lean, and you're going to feel great because the confidence that you get, right? This is something Susan and I talked about, the confidence that you get from being in the gym, right? And starting to get into strength training and telling those guys to freaking move out of the way and saying, I'm lifting right here. Like just that confidence that you get from strength training transfers over into every other aspect of your life, especially as a female.
It does. I work out in my backyard because I have a plethora of toys back there, but I was just out of town last week and was at this super nice gym, and I love busting out pull-ups with guys around because many people cannot do pull-ups, and I can bust out, depending on the day, a set from 7 to 10. I'm like, yep, I'm a boss. I can do pull-ups.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I would say, most people can't even do one pull-up, right? So, I mean, to be able to do a pull-up, like that's like one of the ultimate, tests of like pulling strength, I guess there, right? And it's a cool little party trick there. So.
Well, it really is. And 1990, oh my gosh, was it 2 when Terminator 2 came out? Linda Hamilton did a pull-up, and up until that point, you did not see strong women. Back then, we were waiting for the Stairmaster in the gyms, and we were taking aerobics. We weren't doing any kind of strength. And I remember watching the movie going, wait, a woman can do that? It literally, and this is before the internet, for those people that are listening, like you didn't see what we see now with strong women with muscle. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. So I wanted to do that for probably 30 years, no, 25 years. And then a client gave me a nice Christmas bonus one year. And I thought, you know what? Instead of going to Target and buy Christmas presents for my family, I'm going to put a pull-up bar in my backyard. So I did, and it was the best thing ever.
That's awesome. Well, so how did you go about, I mean, because that's something that so many women want to be able to do, right? And you said that, you know, at first you weren't able to do it. It took you time to kind of build up to that. How long did it take you? How long do you think you were working out consistently before you were able to get your first pull up?
So it was about 6 months. And what I tell every woman is don't use bands, put a stool under a pull-up bar and start at the top and do little negatives. Go down an inch and come up an inch. And as you get stronger, you'll be able to go down further. And before long, you're halfway down and you're like, holy crap, I am halfway down. I have found that starting, because no woman, literally, you cannot start in a dead hang because you just can't pull your weight up. But starting up at the top is a doable way, and you see progression. It takes a long time, but once you get one, your body's like, I'm going to remember how to do this, and you build it from there.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, also, I obviously talk about that a lot in terms of strength training in general. I mean, I feel like we have so many people that are trying to go as fast as they possibly can doing all of these things. And not only does your risk for injury and things like that go up, but if you can slow down these movements, whether it's squatting, deadlifting, bicep curls, whatever, and you can focus on that eccentric part, you know, do 2 to 3 second lowers there, whether that's trying to get your pull-ups or just trying to build muscle more efficiently there. It's something that like surprises a lot of people because we're in this world of like just wanting to be like do things fast, get your heart rate up, like we were talking about earlier, right? And when you slow it down, people are like, man, time under tension is increased. Like, oh my gosh, like I'm getting more sore. I'm actually able to focus and have that mind muscle connection and focus where I'm actually feeling, you know, where I'm actually supposed to feel these muscles. So I love that. I mean, I think in almost all the strength training, well, not all of it, but most of it, I typically recommend that. I'm like, try to slow down your movements, do things more controlled. You'll have better form and technique with things, but then also you'll be able to actually get more out of that movement there as well. Well, almost knocked my microphone over there.
And I agree. I've always told my clients, I'm going to give you a speeding ticket. Oh my God, slow your movement down.
Yeah.
Momentum does not engage your muscle. You want to engage your muscle in this. And they're like, it's so much harder.
I'm like, there you go, right? Yes. There you go. And like with men I work with, like all the time, I'll be like, what's going to end up happening is like the only thing you're focused on is lifting more and more. When you slow things down, do things with more control, do things with better form and technique, sure, you might not be able to lift as much, right? But again, that helps with like the long-term play here, right? I mean, I want you to be able to strength train consistently for the rest of your life, not just for your, you know, a year here or whatever before you get injured. So
now, and something you said before about getting up off a chair is like getting up off a toilet. And that's the number one reason people go into nursing homes, because they can't get up off the toilet, which is a squat. So if you don't want to strength train, I want you to think about the quality of your life later on. I mean, I don't want to go to nursing home. Who does? I saw my dad live in one. It was awful. So strength training is literally the best thing you can do for your long-term health.
I agree. I think it's one of the most undervalued aspects of fitness out there for sure. And again, it's just we're in a hit world right now, right? This high intensity interval training. I mean, this is like the most popular style of workouts, I feel like right now. So again, it doesn't have to be the only thing you do. I'll be the first to say, look, strength training is boring. And it you know, it's something that like, there's so many people that are like, this is just like so boring. Like working out by myself, doing strength training. I would much rather be in a class. I'd much rather have the energy and fun and all that. And I'm like, I get it. Like strength training can definitely be boring. It's just eating vegetables and fruits is boring too. It's just, you know, I didn't touch vegetables growing up my whole life. And then I, you know, at 18 years old, became a personal trainer. And I was like, oh, wow, okay, like these are like very important. Like I need to start prioritizing these things. So it became a matter of not necessarily that I love vegetables now, but now it's just that, hey, I'm an adult and my health is a priority to me. And part of that becomes the responsibility of prioritizing my sleep and my nutrition and my exercise and hydration and all of these lifestyle habits that ultimately lead to me being around for my kids and having a
Mhm.
great quality of life. And so that's what it is, right? I mean, I think so many people, you've got to really ask yourself why these things are important, and I got to build up the value, right, and help you to understand why they're important. But then ultimately from there, it's like a decision that you have to make. It's a commitment. I mean, this is a lifelong commitment, and that's hard. It's easy for maybe you or I, who this is like what we do, this is our life, right? But for so many other people, I mean, this is just a part of so many other things that they have going on there. And so I get that. I know that it is. I'll be the first to say, I mean, living a healthy lifestyle, it's hard for everybody, but it's definitely harder for people that aren't in the actual fitness industry and doing this. So, but I think that why piece is very important. I don't think a lot of people dive into that enough, right? It's like this superficial goal of let me lose 10 pounds or 20 pounds or whatever, but it's
Yep.
why is it important to you to live a healthy lifestyle, right? Because I think I mean, if I asked anybody that question, they'd be like, yeah, of course it's important to me. But really digging in and asking yourself why it's important, because that why, that's going to be the thing that helps you to overcome your excuses and everything that kind of comes along that way. I mean, nobody wants to wake up early and go work out or whatever, it can suck, but it's that investment that you're putting into yourself for the rest of your life there. So
I have a very important question, Justin.
yes, ma'am.
Can your mom believe that you eat vegetables now?
my mom, I mean, now I've been, it's been 12 years since I've been in the industry, but when I first got into all of that, I mean, she was shocked. I mean, my whole family, even to this day, I mean, we're 12 years since I started into this industry, and I still get the comments and this could be a whole other conversation. I still get the comments of oh my God, Justin's eating that, or oh my gosh, that's not healthy. I can't believe Justin's eating that, or whatever, right? And I'm just like,
Uh,
and it's honestly, it was one of the biggest motivators as to why I do what I do, right? Because it's I grew up my whole entire life seeing my family, immediate and extended, in a place where they struggled with their health. And they blame it on their genetics and whatever else. And really the reality of it is it's lifestyle. It's the lifestyle you live. It's the decisions that you make. And it always hurt me because I was like, I want to be able to help my family, right? When I first got into the field, I was like, I want to help my family. I want to be able to help my brothers and sisters, my mom, all this. But you can't make people be ready to change, right? People have to actually want to change themselves. And so I think now at this point, 12 years later, I mean, and I've proven, right, what I've been able to do, but at the same time, I mean, I still haven't been able to help my mom. She is very unhealthy. Same thing with my dad. And that's just something that, unfortunately, it will always be the thing that I wish I could have gotten to, but I mean, here it's 12 years and I still haven't been able to, right? So I think God put me into a place to help others, because it's almost like I got to see it growing up my whole entire life and what this does to people. I've just like working out for you, right? I've seen the value. I know what these things do. Now it's a mission for me to be able to actually challenge people to think a little bit differently and convince them to see the value in it, because most people don't see the value in living a healthy lifestyle. At least maybe they say they do, but they don't actually take action on carrying that out, regardless of what happens, until they get, unfortunately, the diagnosis, the scare, you got cancer, you got and that's a place that it's like, how do I prevent people from getting to that place before they make that, before they finally make that decision? How do we get them to make that decision earlier?
we can't. My in-laws are obese. My father-in-law died of obesity, and I was their worst nightmare, their daughter-in-law, right? And at the end of his life, I remember they went to a festival and he got one of the motorized carts. And my mother-in-law was like, "Isn't that great?" I said, "No, it's not great. He should be walking. He should not be riding in a wheelchair." And then he ended up going to the hospital and they're like, you know, "You have to change." He's like, "I'm ready. I'll do this." And it was too late because he was obese for 30 years and your organs just can't take that. So, and they were very slim at their wedding picture. So it was 100% lifestyle. And I've heard Dr. Hyman, I'm sure you're Mark Hyman, said, "Our genetics are a loaded gun and we choose to fire the bullets or not." So we might have heart disease or other things in our family, but you can change that by the lifestyle that you're living now. And it's a personal choice. I mean, yes, I wanted them to change. I remember getting my mother-in-law like a step and trying to help her out, and they went on Weight Watchers. He lost 100 pounds and she lost 60, and they were done. So they went back to their old lifestyle and gained it all back. And it is heart-wrenching to see your family, your loved ones, like basically kill themselves. And we're all going to die. There's no, we don't get out of this alive, but to see the quality of life that it led to it's just heartbreaking. And I feel your pain, and I'm sorry that you can't change your parents, but you can only change you and the people that come to you for help, right?
Yeah, 100%. Well, I think it's it's at the end of the day, you just have a choice, right? To be able to, for me, it's like I have a choice to be able to lead, right? And I can lead my family immediate. I can lead my brother and sisters. I can lead my extended family. Like, I'm never going to sit here and judge anybody. I mean, you live the life that you want to live, but at the end of the day, like I want you to be able to see the fact that by me prioritizing these things, what it does to the quality of my life, right? Because just from me setting that example and people being able to see that and not sit here and be on the start and stop and I'm focused on it here for a little bit and then I'm not, it's not this fling. It's like it truly is something that is part of my being, right? I mean, it's part of it's a non-negotiable. It's a core value, and I think that's all you can do. I mean, you lead from the front, and hopefully I'm able to make an impact in my immediate family. I'm able to sit there and help my wife and my kids be able to live a healthy lifestyle. And then it's a generational thing, right? Because that means I broke the generational curse of health, and so I don't know. All I can do is control, my little circle here of influence. But it's sad. I mean, it really is sad. I think that, I think that I have been able to, work with so many people and hear so many of these stories, and it's impacted me so much. And it's almost like if other, and this is what this podcast is for, right? I mean, if other people hear these stories and they start getting influenced by it, all it takes is just one little nugget, right? I haven't said things in a way, right, to my parents or my brothers and sisters or whatever that has clicked with them, right? And all it takes is one person saying something in a certain way for you to hear it, right? And for you to actually like take action on that thing. And so hopefully people, in the podcast today, we'll have some listeners that will be able to, take the 30-year-old Justin and throw him out here for a while and hear Pam, right? And hear Pam who has now prioritized this for an even longer period of time. And here you are coming in. How old are you again, Pam?
54.
So 54 years old. And you would probably argue right now you're potentially, I don't know, I don't want to say the fittest you are in your whole life, but
I am.
or you are. Okay, well,
Yep.
there you go. So at 54 years old, you're the healthiest, you're the fittest, you feel the best that you have in your whole entire life. And most people at 50, they're like, checked out. They're like, what's the point? So that's crazy to me. I think that people that are listening to this that are 30, 40, 50, whatever, however old you are, it's never too late to start, right? And I think that you just have to figure out a way to slowly but surely start to incorporate these things. And I don't think there's a better way than to do it with one-on-one coaching. I mean, group coaching can be great too, but I think it's just, you need somebody to meet you where you are in this journey of life and to help you to develop this skill set. Because just like what you said with, finances earlier, or whatever, budgeting, or, it truly is a skill set. Most people weren't, I always joke, most people weren't, taught about finances and these types of things growing up, unless maybe their parents taught them. And it's the same thing with nutrition and exercise and living a healthy lifestyle. So I hope that people can see the value and make it a priority for their life, because it truly is something that will transform your life if you prioritize it.
Well, I call it the daily decision, because in our Insta society, people want to see results tomorrow, but if you make the decision to drink water, to prioritize protein, to add strength training in, you can enhance your life. I mean, I'm 54. I get out of bed every day with 0 aches and pains. I feel great every day. And mind you, Justin, I did not tell you this. I was hit by a car almost 5 years ago. And because my muscles protected my bones, I have 0 pain.
Wow.
Strength training did that for me. So I don't ever want people to think, oh, I'm 50, I'm 55. What's the point? The point is you can feel better than you do right now, but you don't know that the good part is on the other side until you put those daily decisions into practice.
100%. I say it all the time. I'm like, most people don't know how good they can feel until they actually start feeling that way. And then it's like this, it's this double-edged sword, right? Because if you stop doing some of those things, then you start not feeling as good, and it's the reminder. But if you never have the reminder of how good you can feel, then you don't even know how bad you're getting there. So, but man, that's crazy. I have my grandpa is 90. I'd say out of everybody in my family, my grandpa is like the one that has, he was a diabetic his whole life. So he had no choice but to prioritize it. And he's the guy that, at 94 years old has like 12 gardens in his backyard that he still like, sorts out. So that, he is somebody that, has prioritized his health his whole life. But even with him, when I say prioritize your health, he did not do strength training. And here at 94 years old, he was walking out of a grocery store and somebody backed up and hit him. And ever since then, there's been issues. There's been a decline ever since then. So, I mean, this is the strength training. I agree. Strength training is one of the most, like, if y'all are listening to this right now, strength training is one of the most important things you could ever prioritize. Period.
A million percent, yes. It saved my life.
Now you got to figure out a way to see the value in it. You got to see a way to do it, even if you don't like it. You got to figure out a way to make it, something that's a consistent aspect of your life. And I think it's different for everybody, but I think it's just really digging in and getting deep as to what's the reserve behind it. You truly think you're going to get bulky if you shrink train? Cool. Let's talk about it. Let's really break that down, or whatever the reason is, right? But it's if you can develop the skill set of exercise and you can develop the skill set of nutrition, again, I think those are probably two of the most important skill sets you could ever be able to establish into your life.
And can we talk about, for your female listeners who are in love with carbs, they need to eat way more protein than they're eating. A 3-ounce serving of a chicken breast will do you no good. You need to have 5 to 6 ounces at every meal. You need to get that protein. Like, I know the cavemen were like the brontosaurus, bones, and the women were at home and we love our carbs, but they will never serve you as well as protein will, and veggies. So ladies, please, 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 when you're logging over 30 grams per meal, and that's just to start, like, more protein will keep you satisfied. You won't look for that snack an hour later. I mean, you'll be great till the next meal. And so many are like, I just can't eat that much. I'm like, I see what you eat at Starbucks. I know you can eat that much, but let's change what you're eating and have more protein.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're right. I mean, I would argue most of America, overeats carbs and fats and they undereat protein. And because of that, now you're feeling less satiated, the cravings go up more. You got all these little 100-calorie snacks going around or whatever, right? And it's like, these things are never going to actually make you full. What makes you full is protein and fiber, right? So when you actually start eating an adequate amount of protein intake, when you actually start getting enough fiber into the diet via vegetables and fruits there, like, now all of a sudden you're starting to feel more full in between meals there. But you're right. I mean, it's a challenge for so many women in that they see how much they're eating and they're like, man, that's just so much protein. I can't eat that much protein. And I'm like, you got to meet yourself where you are. If you're supposed to be eating 120 grams of protein a day and you're eating 60, you're not going to go to 120 overnight. Like, you're going to have digestive issues, you're going to be bloated, like all the things, right? So yes, you need to slowly start ramping it up. But again, that requires you to do something that you're probably not doing in the first place, which is actually tracking and starting to build awareness around how many grams of protein you're even taking in per meal or total there for the day. So, I think that it's an interesting world. I mean, you've been in the industry longer than I have, right? So it's like we go through these waves, you know, it's like carbs and low fat, low carb, and my God, what's next? Low protein. I have no idea but it's just like all three of these things are important. They will always be important. And I think starting to figure out how to actually build out a meal in a way that encompasses all the things that you need from a macronutrient standpoint and a micronutrient standpoint. Again, this is just where some of that education comes in and building that skill set, because once you get into that place, I always tell clients, I call it like the I coach plate, right? Which you probably, you know, the athlete's plate or whatever, right? Quarter plate protein, quarter plate carb, half plate color. So I'm like, if people would just build out the majority of their meals like an I coach plate, like that would do so much for your nutrition. And it's not restrictive either. Like you can have whatever the heck you want to have, but it does it in a way where it allows you to kind of like build out your plate in a way that, you know, the portions are how they need to be built out. Most people, it's probably like all carbs, right? Yep. Or majority of carbs, and then, you know, they're not getting enough protein, they're not getting enough vegetables and fruits into the diet. So it's almost like, hey, if we could have a quarter plate protein, a quarter plate carbohydrate, and then half your plate filled up with vegetables or fruits or a combination of both, that gets you to a really, really good place there. And it doesn't mean every last meal you make has to be that, but like if you look at how your nutrition looks now and then you start shifting it more into that, I can almost guarantee you your nutrition is going to improve there. And it's primarily because of getting the protein up to where it needs to be and getting the vegetable and fruit intake up to where it needs to be there.
And my clients are always surprised, like, you want me to eat so much? I'm like, of the right things, yes.
Well, when you've been told your whole life to eat 1,200 calories a day, I mean, of course, everything's going to seem like a lot.
And 1,200 calories of all carbs, you're starving because you're never satisfied. I'm like, yeah, let's trade it the English muffin for a couple eggs and some egg whites and some veggies there, make a huge scramble. And like, oh my God, I'm so full. That's the point. I want you to eat more to reach your goals and not less. Like, wow, that's a lot of food. I know, it's great, right? The point is to eat as much as you can and be in a deficit, not as little as you can, by switching around lose the pasta, right? That's not going to be, once you get to be an adult, it's very hard for anybody to handle that much sugar load in their, you know, really in their meals. But telling women,
I think most people, you know, they don't, it's trying to learn the knowledge behind it, right? I mean, 99% of people out there, if I'm like, hey, what's that? Like, they don't even know what that is. Like, so for example, like peanut butter or whatever, they're like, oh, I thought peanut butter was a great source of protein. I'm like, it does have protein in it, but if I just looked at, you know, a serving of a tablespoon of peanut butter, if you look at how many grams of protein are in it versus how many grams of fat versus how many grams of carbohydrate, you see that the main macronutrient is fat, right? And so you think to yourself, like, this is a fat source, right? It's not a protein source. No. And that's the same thing with lentils and legumes and quinoa and, you know, all these things out there. So awareness precedes change, right?
Well, yeah. And who can have just 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, Justin? Nobody. Come on.
Yeah.
Get the PB2. I mean, that's always going to save you calories, but I have a vegetarian gal in my group coaching, and I'm like, you need to have some protein shakes because you're having so many carbs with the lentils and the beans. Yes, there is some protein, but you're not going to be burning off that many carbs. So get some protein shakes in there. Get some eggs. I can't remember if she's vegan, but nonetheless, it's yeah, you got to be careful of getting more protein when you are not eating animal products.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think this is where so many people hate tracking, but I think this is where, you know, the tracking can actually build you a lot and bring you a lot of awareness, just because, I mean, how are you ever supposed to know whether something is a protein source or a fat source or a carb source if you have, you know, no awareness around that? I've never actually even tracked that before. So I think I would argue if people would just commit to 30 days or whatever of like tracking on MyFitnessPal or any of these apps, and just build awareness with yourself. Or maybe you don't want to do it on MyFitnessPal. Maybe you do it with a picture log, and you sit there and you take a picture of every single thing you eat and drink for a week or whatever. Like, you just need awareness, right? Because if you don't build that awareness, you're never going to know that you need, like, what changes that you need to make there. And you're just going to be in this constant cycle of spinning your wheels and popping from diet to diet. I mean, you could literally try any diet under the sun, but if you're not actually tracking your calorie intake, then again, you still lack that awareness, right?
Yeah. Yeah. In 2014, I was 20 pounds overweight myself. And I remember getting on the scale and being like, all right, game on. Logged on my Fitness Pal. So that was 7 years ago. So I was 47, lost about a pound a week. So it was never a fast process, but I did log every day, every meal, every lick, bite, and taste. And it works. So people are going, oh, I don't want to do it. It's a pain. I don't have time. I can't remember. Baloney. Set your alarm on your phone to track after every meal. It takes 2 minutes. We all eat most of the same stuff every day. It's going to be in your MyFitnessPal to add it in. It doesn't take any time, but that really is so eye-opening for so many people. Be like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I had 800 calories in M&Ms. Yes, you did. Or that handful of nuts was 400 calories. Oh my gosh, like it is so
Cam, I
eye-opening.
didn't know I was supposed to track my alcohol.
Oh my gosh, that is
Yeah. I mean, I would, I mean, again, like when you think about, weighing or measuring, logging your food, like guys, none of us are telling y'all that you're going to have to do this for the rest of your life. But if you've never done it and built the awareness that you need, it's no different than any other skill set out there. Like it would be like if you were sitting here trying to save up for something or pay off debt or whatever, and you don't have a bank account. You're like, you don't track your finance. Like, good luck, right? Like, it's like you going
right.
on the show Shark Tank and pitching your business and not knowing your numbers. You're gonna get eaten alive, right? Like, you
Yes.
gotta you gotta know your numbers when it comes to trying to change your body. And when you understand that whole calorie
Yeah.
thing, like everybody
Yep.
hears calorie deficit, and I'm sure they're sick of hearing that, but there's a lot more to it than just the word. You got to really understand every aspect around it there. So Pam, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
I want to kind of wrap things up. What
Yep.
would be? I always break things down for clients into like, what are the big rocks? That mason jar example. What are the things that actually matter, right? The pebbles, the sand, all that. So for me, it's like it's sleep, it's nutrition, it's exercise, it's hydration, and stress management. Those are like the five big rocks. Or if I had to add a sixth rock, it'd be like personal development. Those six, those are the things like for me personally that I know that I need to prioritize most for the rest of my life. And obviously we could break those things down and get more specific with it.
Yep.
But what are the things like for you and your life and with the clients that you work with? I mean, what are your big rocks?
Well, you're killing me because clearly we're on the same level here. Sleep is always my number one. And when I say that, people are like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, look, especially as you get older, you're very young and you're okay with a deprivation with your babies, but as you get
Hey, I
older,
will say I am young, and obviously with the babies right now, it's not ideal. But I agree. I prioritize sleep more than anything else. I'm the guy that even through my 20s here, I mean, I get 8-9 hours of sleep, and it's like a non-negotiable. I'm like, don't touch my sleep.
they talk to a woman in menopause who has hot flashes and
I
can't go
know.
back to sleep.
That's
But
where it gets hard. That's where it
it
gets challenging.
It is, but I tell them if you don't sleep well, you're not going to want to eat well the next day. Your brain is going to crave sugar. You are not going to want to work out. You are not going to do your daily movement. Now, I don't know about you, Justin, but I call walking daily movement. It is not exercise, it's movement. We should all be moving every day. And sleep is the key factor in your healthy day the next day. So, for sure, that's my number one. I got to say, mindset too, because so many of my clients are so negative and so hard on themselves with, oh, and they want to tell me all the bad things they did first. I'm like, no, no, no. We're starting with the wins. Let's be positive because, we are, it just, you need to start on the positive and reward yourself for the things that you did do well. And whether you think you can or you can't, you're right.
Yeah.
But you have to, I tell my clients, get up, log your food for the day, write yourself a note with positive things about you. Like, what would your best friend say about you? Put that on a sticky note to remind you, you are amazing and awesome. Not like, oh my God, I'm so tired. I can't do that. I have too much to do. Like, stop it. You're awesome, right?
I love it.
Live your day like you are your biggest cheerleader, because as women, we're expert cheerleaders for our kids, our husbands, our friends, everybody else, but we do not cheer ourselves on. So you got to cheer yourself on. So mindset would be my number two. I got to say it's a tie really between nutrition and strength training, because the more I see in our society, the people that don't take care of themselves, I don't think they are under I don't think they're over fat. I think they're under muscled. And if they would take the time to strength train and build muscle, they wouldn't be in the shape they are in,
Yeah.
which it's just heartbreaking to see the way people are taking care of themselves these days. It makes me so sad. So yeah, those are my my biggest rocks.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, no, I mean, I that mindset piece, kind of personal development mindset, like I mean, that aspect is, I mean, in between your own ears, right? I always joke, it's like, it's not even about the nutrition fitness. Like you're your own worst enemy. You're the one self-sabotaging, and but I also give grace in that, you know, the reason why we've gotten to that place is because of the influence of the culture and the industry and how your parents were brought up, where it was even worse. And so it's just like, it's hard. You know, I think I try to with coaching, I try to like define myself as like an empathetic problem solver, right? So it's like, I'm always going to meet you with empathy. I'm always going to, you know, be on your side here, but at the same time, like, you came to me with problems to solve, and I'm going to help you to solve those problems along the way there as well. So it's a delicate balance of kind of knowing when to give yourself grace and knowing when to kind of kick yourself in the butt and say, let's go. You know, it's time to step up, like you said earlier when you wanted to lose 20 pounds, right? So, but yeah, I think for so many people, it's just figuring out that, man, a lot of this stuff can actually be more simple than what you've heard or been taught. And it's not necessarily a matter of needing this like crazy complex diet or workout program or whatever. It's more so about the fact that you've got to be honest with yourself, and that nothing has worked with you before because you're not still doing it. And in order to actually find success here long term, you've got to be consistent. And that's the biggest struggle for everybody, is consistency. And so it's like, all right, well, how do I build out a protocol here that I can actually be consistent with, rather than, okay, it's the perfect time, I'm going to go all in for 30 days and then I fall off again, right? And that's what people are like, it's a challenge. It almost goes back to like precision nutrition and how basic they're like, here's a new habit every 2 weeks. But it's like, that for so many people is the recipe for success. Like, they need to go slower through this process than what they think they can. And as a byproduct of that, yeah, you're not going to see like crazy fast weight loss, but would you rather lose 50 pounds and keep it off the rest of your life, or lose 50 pounds and gain it back? You know, like, who cares how long it takes you to get here? We're combating a lifetime of mindset, beliefs, habits, whatever. And so it's going to be it's a project, right? It's a transformation. It's a life. It can literally be a life transforming, project that you're about to embark on here. And it's probably one of the most important ones you could ever invest in yourself and prioritize. So
It is. And I have to always tell people, you have to give yourself as much grace on the other side, because it probably took you 6 months, 9 months, a year to put that weight on. And it's going to take about that long to take it off. It is never a fast process, like being pregnant. It takes you 40 weeks to cook a baby. It takes about that long or longer on the other side to lose the weight. So please, for the people that are like, it's not happening fast enough, consistency is the key. It always is. It will happen. Keep up with those daily habits, make yourself a priority, and it will happen. And then next year you can look back and go, oh my God, last year I was a boss, and look how I feel now. I feel great because I actually did it.
yeah. And I love that. And I think that at the end of the day, for so many people, the reminder is just like, what's the alternative, right? Like, even if you don't reach your weight loss goal as fast as you wanted to, like, what's the alternative? I mean, are you just going to go back to not prioritizing your sleep and nutrition and exercise and hydration, stress management, mindset, and all these things? No, of course not. So it's a personal development project, right? I mean, if you can really actually work on this forever and play the long game, and not, not have an end date with this, like, there's literally no end date. And if you lay your head down at night every night knowing that you're prioritizing living a healthy lifestyle, like, that belief, that those mindset wins there, those will build up over time, and that compounding effect, that's what gets you to actually turn these things into habits, and actually gets you to convert habits into the lifestyle that you live there. But you're right. I mean, most people are combating a lifetime, right? So don't expect to sit there and change your life in a year. It takes time.
And you're worth it, right? You're worth the time that it takes to do it and to make those decisions. And I know for a lot of my clients, they go out, we go out to eat now that the world is open back up again. And I always tell them they have to practice saying no, because their friends and their families are going to try to sabotage them, because their clean or better eating choices are going to make their friends and family feel guilty. I'm like, before you go out, practice in the mirror. No, thanks. I'm good right now. I don't want any, I want to stay on track, whatever it is. And it just kills me that there's so much peer pressure still to overeat, overdrink when you're trying your best to get to your best self. I'm like, practicing no is a skill and you have to do it over and over and over again, even with family,
100%.
which sucks. I mean, it's awful.
Yeah, no, I mean, I mean, this could be a whole nother conversation, but like setting boundaries, right? I mean, this is something, especially as women, this is something that's such a challenge for so many people. And ultimately learning how to set boundaries, that's just another skill set along the way that you have to develop in order to be successful with this long term. And it doesn't mean you can't enjoy life and all these things. It's not that at all. It's just that we're a product of what we do the majority of the time. There's 365 days in the year. There's a lot of opportunities there. Right, coming into the holiday season here right now, most people, it's 15 pounds gained from October 31st to January 1st. That doesn't happen in those 5 holidays or whatever. It happens across 2 months, right? So we're a product of what we do the majority of the time. But if you've never tracked in some capacity before, or worked with a coach in some capacity before, then I would encourage you to do that, because it's one of the best investments that you absolutely could ever make in your life. And 100% unbiased, Pam's biased. But I promise you, if you can trust us on this, and even if you don't work one-on-one or in a group setting, like get into my Facebook group or her Facebook group or whatever, and like get around people, right, where you're surrounding yourself with an environment that is focusing on living a healthy lifestyle. Because if you don't have, like, if you're the only one in your little environment that's trying to do it, it's going to be a lot more challenging than if you're able to actually kind of pour yourself into a community and get that support from them. So
Well,
Pam, I want to, I could probably, like we were talking about earlier, continue this all day, but just for time purposes here,
yes.
tell the listeners kind of where they can find you at social media, all the links there. Tell them about your Facebook group, website, whatever you want to do there. And then, Pam's just another one. I brought Susan on the podcast, like my over 50 crowd here, my coaches, like, I just love y'all, because y'all, I mean, think about how many people come to me and they're like, you just don't get it, Justin. You're 30, you're 29, whatever. And I'm like, you know what? I can empathize with that. Let me introduce you to Pam. Let me introduce you to Susan. Let me introduce you to Joanne, Joanne there, I forget her last name. But I'm like, these are women that are over 50 that are dealing with real menopause and all. I mean, this is a real problem. These are real struggles. These are real issues. But it's so much easier to blame all of your problems on everything else outside of things that you actually have control over. And I think these women can be motivators for you to just really be able to bring it back and take ownership of the life that you want to live.
It is. I love that about taking ownership of your health. I'm on Instagram at Pam Sherman, Perfect Balance Guru. I'm on TikTok at Perfect Balance Guru.
Go watch her dance, guys.
I do not dance, but I do have a very funny fat blob that I use as a prop all the time. Those 5-pound fat blobs, which is super fun. My website is theperfectbalance.guru, and it has all the information for my group coaching and private coaching. The group coaching is a private Facebook group where I go live once a week to talk about wins, of course, and then game or troubleshoot anything that the tribe is going on. We talk about weekends, holidays, barbecues, you name it, we talk about it, because there's always things that are going to be little roadblocks. And I'm sure you hear this too, Justin, is, oh my God, Pam, that's such a good idea. I have loads of them because I've been doing this for 24 years. I have so many great ideas, nutrition-wise, fitness-wise. My YouTube channel is The Perfect Balance. I have over 400 videos there. For the person that's like, I don't know where to start, I literally have a 5-minute playlist, because guess what? Every minute you spend on yourself and your health is worth it. It's not an hour. You have to do an hour. Start with 5 minutes. And then guess what? I have a 10-minute playlist after that. And most of them are body weight exercises. Some of them do use dumbbells for the most part. I just want people moving more, because I don't want them to ever think it's too late. And you can feel great in your own body, no matter what your age, but you have to do the daily investment of the things that Jess and I talked about today.
Love it. Love it.